a server machine somewhere. Okay, so when we talk about servers here, we're not talking about hardware. We're talking about software. We're talking about SaaS installed software. Right? A server is nothing more than something that's waiting for requests. Right? That's really what a server does. It waits for requests and then it answers those requests. Okay? You know, just like your server in a restaurant. Right? The server comes, you say, I'd like a hamburger. They go, they bring you back a hamburger. Same kind of thing here. Okay? Now this in the middle, this metadata server, this is kind of like the brain. All right, you've heard the term business intelligence. This is where the intelligence comes in. All right, this is what makes the system smart. Because what this metadata server does is it keeps track of all of your tables, what their names are, what their columns are, what their data types are. It keeps track of all of your queues, all of your views, all of your users are registered here, and your credentials and all their privileges. All this information is registered and saved in this metadata server. Right, so that's the brain of the system. So when you log on to the platform, the metadata server is checking your username and password, checking your credentials to make sure you're allowed to log on, and then it uses those credentials to determine what you are allowed to look at. Right? You have got authentication and authorization. There's two pieces here. So that's all handled here. All right, now, up here, I've got all of my clients. Sometimes you'll hear me talk about the client application. Well, the client application is simply the software, the application that you're using in front of you. So if you're using Excel with the add-in, then Excel with the add-in is your client application. That's what you're working on. If you're using Enterprise Guide, then Enterprise Guide is your client application. So Enterprise Guide and Excel and Word and PowerPoint, those are all communicating. You log on to the server. That all happens kind of in the background. You even have to type username and password. But we logged on, and once we logged on, we would do things like ask for a frequency report. Okay, we want to do some summarization. We want a report that shows summarized numbers. Well, what happens is, behind the scenes is, we're submitting a request down here to one of these servers. So we might be submitting a request to the workspace server. And that literally submits SAS code to this server. This server is a SAS server. It's waiting for a request to run some SAS code. It runs the SAS code, produces a report, sends the results back to your client application. Right? Pretty straightforward. It's kind of they used to call it a client-server relationship. We don't really call it that anymore. We've got these, multi-tiered platform application, we can expansion in. So basically, I've got these client applications that are sending requests to my server application. Those requests are to run SAS code. I might be running if you're anybody a SAS programmer? Okay. If a SAS programmer, if you ever submit something that gives you a frequency report, what is the code that does that? Anybody remember? Proc free. So that's all that's going on here. When I'm in Excel and I tell Excel, I want to do some frequencies, some summarization, behind the scenes, we're submitting a proc free frequency procedure down here, and SAS is really just SAS sitting there listening on a port for a request. Says, okay, I'll run proc free, run proc free, send it back to Excel, and it's displayed in my Excel spreadsheet. So Excel is being used as an interface to SAS. Enterprise Guide is my interface to SAS, running SAS jobs, SAS requests. Now, what we're going to focus on in this class is the web browser application. All right, now the web browser applications are a little bit different than everything else because these do not require any local installation. We call that a zero footprint client Because you've already got a browser, right? We don't have to install a browser, Internet Explorer. We don't have to install that on your machine. You've already got that. So what we do is we've got this whole middle tier that you've installed as part of the platform. And when I go to Web Report Studio, which we'll do, or when I go to the dashboard, those applications are running on some server. We've got Java server pages, and there's Java server pages are running over here, and there's all kinds of web stuff going on over there that surfaces the application in your browser. And then in turn, we do the same thing. From the browser, we say, well, we want to do a summarization, or we want to look at some data. And those requests still get sent down here to the server tier, and then they show up in your Internet Explorer window as a report or as an HTML report or something like that. Okay? So that's what we'll be doing today. These browser applications are the only applications that use the middle tier, or sometimes that's called the web tier. Okay? The other client applications do not use this middle tier at all. Only the web browser applications. That includes Web Report Studio, the dashboard, information delivery portal, stored process applications. Okay? So all that stuff that shows up in your Internet Explorer. Now, I just kind of skipped this. I'll just say briefly, this is all your data. Your data can be stored in a relational database like Oracle or DB2 or Teradata or Sybase, wherever you have your data stored. It could be stored in a OLAP cube. It could be in an ERP structure. It could be in, this is a SAS, what we call Speedy Server file. It could be in a CSV file, right? Just a flat file like comma separated text file. Of course, it can be in SAS. Now, this data, this is your data. It's on your system. SAS does not automatically know about it. The metadata server doesn't just know about all your data magically. So what you need to do is, after the platform is installed, somebody, some administrator, maybe it's you, will take the data that you want to do SAS analysis on, and you will register that data to the metadata server. And you'll assign privileges, which groups can see it, which can't, who can read it, who can write to it, that kind of stuff. So this data is invisible to your client applications until it's been registered to the metadata server. Once the brain knows about it, then these client applications can view it and have access to it. So that's kind of the beauty of this system. When I register something to the metadata server, I can see that same data in the same folders from Excel, and from Enterprise Guide, and from my web browser applications, and from all these other client applications. They can all see the same data. All right? Now, I spent a lot of time on that. Maybe that was interesting. Maybe you enjoyed that. But that really does kind of summarize what the whole platform is all about. All right?
So, quick question.
Sure.
On that metadata repository.
Yeah.
There a separate administrative programming role or package that one needs to obtain that?
Yeah, there is an application.